Hello, I'm Scott Stogner, and this is AEP 880, Mod 7, the mini case study. Okay, summary of the main, here we go. Summary, starting with the main characters. Mr. Rolnick is the teacher. Joel Pham, I think I'm saying that right, is the main student of concern. Actually, Mr. and Mrs. Pham, his parents are the ones that are mostly we're concerned with here. Miles, Joel's classmate and science fair partner, and Miss Smith, a veteran school teacher who had been there for quite some time. The situation: Mr. Rolnick wanted to meet both sets of parents, Joel's and Miles, to discuss the plan so that the students for their project there would have equal responsibilities and to divide it up properly, and for the parents to be involved with it in that situation there. Mr. Pham refused. So basically, they said, we're going to do this at home, and we'll discuss it at the house. Joel's parents did not want to participate in any of the school activities. They never have. Language and transportation was not a problem, which normally is the case. And Mr. Rolnick, he wants something. He wants to do something to get them involved. Issues and concerns. Mr. Rolnick is very concerned and disheartened that Joel's parents are not very involved, really at all, with his school or the educational process as a whole. They're just very standoffish. They do not come to meetings at the school. They never volunteer with any activities, and so they're just really very standoffish into themselves. What other factors may be keeping them from volunteering? Mr. Rolnick turned to veteran teacher Miss Smith for advice about this situation. She stated that when Joel's parents were there as students, it was not very welcoming and accepting environment with the few Vietnamese students that were there, teachers, students included. And some of those teachers who were there and not supportive are still there at this time. And so she said that, maybe the way he's approaching the parents is reminiscent of those teachers that didn't support them and so forth, with kind of just reliving old memories. And so that's probably not the best approach, possibly. They just didn't feel supported then, and they're thinking it's kind of going down that same path now, I guess. Personal experience, nothing like this. Okay. I've had no experience that was similar to this scenario. But I have had a student whose father was killed when he was really young, and his mother went to prison. I think you can read between the lines, and she's still there even to this day. And he was brought up by his grandparents, to which the grandfather passed suddenly and unexpectedly when he was in the 8th grade, the year before I got him. And he was just him and his grandmother. There were a few aunts and uncles around, but that's just it. They were just around. But it was just really him and his grandmother. And she was reluctant to take part in any portion of his educational process, mainly because, and she admitted, she was not the best reader in the world. She never finished high school. She never made it to high school. So, and she was elderly. I mean, and this was, 8 years ago or so. She was elderly then, and she has actually since passed. But she, couldn't read really. I mean, she could some, very little. So she was embarrassed, and all the communications, all the, the pamphlets and the notes and so forth that you would send home as teachers or as school, unless he read it to her, she really didn't look at them, because she could just stare at them all day and not really know what they meant. So once that became apparent to me, I would still do what I'm supposed to do. That's when the school email started to take off with students for us. and I would still, they would still get the email to his account because she didn't have email, and all the documents would still be sent home as normal. But I would call her on my planning period and describe to her every week when, the first of the week when all the stuff would send home, or if I sent something home, during the week, I would call then. And I would basically tell her what the documents were, what they were about. Sometimes I would actually read it word for word as she kind of, I wouldn't say looked, but she said she was following along with me. Miss Jess, bless her heart. And so hopefully she gained a little bit of reading with that. But every week, the entire school year, I would talk to her at least once a week, if not even more. And she never missed out on any information that was regulated to her grandchild, to him, and always knew about the school activities or any events that was coming up, about his academics, not just my class, but the other classes, and the other teachers did communicate as well, just not as much as I did. And any relevant school information in general, I would call and just kind of read it to her. And she would come by the school every so often. If one of the aunts or uncles would drive her, and later on when the young man would drive, he would take her. And but it was kind of neat. It was neat. All right. That's the closest experience I got to this kind of scenario. How to reach out. Well, Mr. Rolnick should, I just hit my computer, sorry. Mr. Rolnick should lead the calls to get these parents involved. He could start an international month or a week or something along those lines, where he could reach out to the Vietnamese community to showcase their culture and such in school activities, or an assembly, or an after school presentation, anything along those lines, and ask the Vietnamese community leaders, because evidently there's more Vietnamese in this scenario now in the community than there were when their parents were in school, to kind of help Joel's parents get involved, to kind of put a little so-called peer pressure on them. Another way, Mr. Rolnick and the administration should set up a meeting wherever Mr. and Mrs. Pham want to meet. It does not matter. It could be in the park, it could be in a library, restaurant, bar. It doesn't matter, as long as they can meet them. Just in order to discuss what happened to them as students when they were in high school, at that school. And they should do this, have this meeting, so that they will know what exactly happened and have an understanding of that. So they will know what to look for to make sure that does not ever happen again. And literally, they should apologize on behalf of the school, quite frankly, and the school district, if you ask me. But that's how I would reach out in this scenario. I have really no personal situation like this other than the one I just discussed with you. And I showed you how I reached out. So how would the staff even know that this is a barrier? Well, evidently they know that it's a barrier. They knew it is because Ms. Smith told Mr. Rolnick about it and about the way they were treated as students when they were in high school, his parents. And so some of the teachers who were there then were part of the problem. And so they're still there now. So that's an ingredient in this recipe that sticks out. Okay. My issue with this is, how did this even happen to begin with? Where was the administration? Where were other teachers? How was this allowed to occur? Literally, I don't get it. I can't wrap my head around it. And, should anybody be held responsible? Well, yeah, they should be held responsible. Should they be punished for it? No, not now. But, obviously, if it happened today, then yes, there's a whole different culture out there, societally wise. But, yeah, I just can't grasp that. Okay, so next, how could you have eliminated this situation from happening long ago when the Vietnamese population began to creep in or move into this area? Teachers should have had training sessions on Vietnamese culture and how to engage them academically and socially, and involve them and include them, make them inclusive in the school environment as every other student is. If Joel's parents are treated differently, then the present issue might not be occurring. So that's one way. That's how I really, truly think that this situation could have been eliminated totally from happening. Ways to get parents involved. Now, I took this two ways: Joel's parents or just in general. So I kind of did both. So for Joel's parents, open lines of communication with parents by emails, phone calls, etc., whatever you got to do, just to talk about and inform them about Joel's academics and his school experience as a whole. By doing so, you begin to gain their trust, which is key to unlocking a great relationship. You know, when you really see, and I say this later, when you present that you really have their child's best interests at heart, it means something to the parents, obviously. So you could also ask them to lead a fundraiser in the form of school supplies in their neighborhood for, Joel's needy classmates or underprivileged or kids who just can't afford it. It doesn't have to be high school age. It could be any age. And let them be in charge of their neck of the woods, so to speak. That's a couple of ways. That's to get them involved. Now, in general, the second way, have communication regularly. I'm a firm believer in communicating with the parents to demonstrate to them as that you do have their child's best interests at heart. That way you gain their trust, which is paramount, and open up other avenues of interaction with them. Assign a lesson or a project to where a student or a parent or parents are the student's partner in this lesson where they have to actively participate. I think that would be a very important step as well. Ask them to lead a school supply donation fundraiser in the neighborhood for underprivileged children. The reason I said that twice is because, well, we've been there and done that before. Okay, even though I did it at a separate school, I was a part of that. That's where I came up. That's why I have that twice, because I think it's a great idea. And those are just some of the ways. And that's not asking them to come in and volunteer, set up a bulletin board or do this or no, it's here. Take charge of something. Feel important about it because you are. And, be a part of their academic, be a part of their social life. So that's, how you do it, I think. And literally you just ask, hey, can we do to help you become more involved? What do you think? Give me some ideas. And that way it wouldn't work for just them, but other parents as well. Okay. Personal experience. The only thing I have is what I stated earlier about with the grandmother, Miss Jess, who couldn't read very well. I kept her up to speed on what was going on and about her grandchild's academics, kept her involved on a regular basis. Plus, I got to talk to her every week, and, we developed a little friendship out of it. It was quite awesome. Bless her heart. She has since passed, but her grandson has blossomed and bloomed and went to college and has graduated and has a great paying job. And that's one of those success stories that you rarely hear about because people just don't talk about it, I guess. But yeah, that was a good time. It was sad to see her make that transition to the next. But anyway, there you go. And I do hope this suffices, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. If I could just figure out how to do this without doing it like this, that would be amazing. So I'm sorry. I'm not real good at this.